It was just after 8 o'clock on the morning of August 6, 1945. Tokyo was already awake. Inside the Imperial General Headquarters, officers studied maps, answered telephones, and prepared for another difficult day of war. Reports from every corner of Japan arrived almost every minute. Air raid warnings had become routine. American bombers had burned dozens of cities during the previous months. Everyone expected another attack somewhere. Nobody expected history itself to change before lunchtime. Hundreds of miles away, Hiroshima was beginning what seemed like another ordinary summer morning. Factory whistles echoed across the city. Streetcars rolled through busy intersections. Schoolchildren hurried toward classrooms. Soldiers reported for duty. Shopkeepers opened their doors. The sky above Hiroshima was unusually clear. It looked like the kind of peaceful morning people remember for years. Nobody knew it would become the last normal morning the city would ever experience. At 7:09 a.m., Japanese radar stations detected a small group of American aircraft approaching southern Japan. The formation was so small that it did not immediately trigger widespread alarm. Large bombing raids usually involved hundreds of bombers. 3 aircraft did not seem like a serious threat. The warning reached Hiroshima, but many residents had already become used to seeing small reconnaissance flights pass overhead without dropping bombs. The air raid alert was eventually lifted. People stepped back outside. Traffic resumed. Daily life continued. High above the city, flying at more than 31,000 feet, the American B-29 bomber Enola moved steadily toward its target. Commanded by Colonel Paul W. Tibbets, Jr., the aircraft carried a weapon unlike anything ever used in war. The bomb, nicknamed Little Boy, weighed nearly 10,000 pounds. Few people outside the secret Manhattan Project even knew such a weapon existed. Even among senior Japanese leaders, the idea that one bomb could destroy an entire city seemed almost impossible. At exactly 8:15 a.m. and 17 seconds, the bomb was released. For 43 seconds, it fell silently through the clear morning sky. Most people below never noticed it. Then, about 9,100 feet above the center of Hiroshima, it exploded. For one blinding instant, the city disappeared inside a white flash brighter than the sun. Temperatures near the center reached several thousand degrees. Buildings collapsed almost instantly. Steel twisted. Concrete shattered. Fires ignited across miles of streets. A powerful shockwave raced through the city faster than sound. Windows exploded miles away. Bridges shook violently. Thousands of people vanished before they even understood something had happened. While Hiroshima disappeared beneath an enormous rising cloud, Tokyo knew almost nothing. Inside military headquarters, officers continued reading reports from other regions. Telephones rang as usual. Clerks typed messages. Maps were updated with the latest information from battlefields across Asia and the Pacific. Hiroshima suddenly stopped communicating. At first, nobody panicked. Communication failures happened during bombing raids. Telephone lines were often damaged. Radio stations could lose power. Military officers assumed the city had suffered another conventional air attack. They expected contact to return within minutes. Minutes passed. Nothing. More calls were placed. Nothing. Additional radio operators tried different frequencies. Still nothing. That silence slowly became the most frightening report of the morning. The Imperial General Headquarters requested updates from nearby military districts. Some stations reported seeing an enormous cloud rising above Hiroshima. Others described an unusually bright flash visible from many miles away. None could explain what had happened. Nobody reported hundreds of bombers. Nobody described the massive fire raids that usually destroyed Japanese cities. The evidence simply did not make sense. As confusion spread through Tokyo, Hiroshima itself had become almost unrecognizable. Fires merged into giant walls of flame. Dust, smoke, and debris covered everything. Streets vanished beneath collapsed buildings. Hospitals were destroyed. Military headquarters inside the city had been heavily damaged. Many officers who normally reported directly to Tokyo were dead or seriously wounded. Survivors wandered through burning neighborhoods searching for family members, water, or shelter. Many believed several bombs must have exploded at once because no single explosion could possibly create such destruction. Back in Tokyo, senior officers gathered around situation maps. They knew Hiroshima contained important military facilities, supply depots, transportation centers, and the headquarters of the Second General Army under Field Marshal Shunroku Hata. Losing communication with such an important city during wartime demanded immediate investigation. General Yoshijiro Umezu, chief of the Army General Staff, received increasingly confusing reports. Some officers suggested a massive ammunition explosion. Others believed hundreds of American bombers must somehow have slipped through Japanese defenses without detection. Neither explanation matched the limited information arriving from Western Japan. Hours later, an investigation aircraft was ordered to fly toward Hiroshima. The crew expected to observe bomb damage similar to other cities attacked during the war. Instead, long before reaching the city, they saw something they had never witnessed before. A towering cloud rose thousands of feet into the sky. As the aircraft came closer, the crew searched for familiar landmarks. Roads were difficult to recognize. Entire neighborhoods had vanished. Smoke covered nearly everything below. The city center looked flattened across an enormous area. Instead of isolated bomb craters or burned districts, there appeared to be one vast zone of destruction stretching in every direction. The reconnaissance crew radioed back that Hiroshima had suffered catastrophic damage unlike anything previously seen. Those words echoed through Tokyo. Unlike anything previously seen. Military leaders struggled to understand them. Japan had already endured terrible destruction. Tokyo itself had experienced devastating firebombing during March 1945. Osaka, Nagoya, Kobe, and dozens of other cities had suffered heavy attacks. Yet those raids involved hundreds of aircraft dropping thousands of bombs over several hours. Hiroshima appeared to have been devastated almost instantly. Scientists were quietly consulted. Could a new type of explosive be responsible? Could fuel storage have detonated? Could hidden military supplies have exploded? Every theory left unanswered questions. Meanwhile, the American government prepared its announcement. Later that day, President Harry S. Truman informed the world that the United States had used an atomic bomb against Hiroshima. He declared that the weapon released the power of the atom and warned that more attacks could follow if Japan continued the war. When this announcement reached Japanese leaders, disbelief spread through the government. Many officers simply refused to accept it. Some believed it was psychological warfare designed to force surrender. Others argued that building an atomic bomb was scientifically impossible during wartime. Japan's own nuclear scientists were asked for their opinion. One of the country's leading physicists, Dr. Yoshio Nishina, carefully examined the limited evidence. He understood atomic research better than almost anyone in Japan. After reviewing reports and later inspecting Hiroshima personally, he reached a painful conclusion. The Americans were almost certainly telling the truth. One bomb really had destroyed the city. That realization changed every discussion inside the Imperial General Headquarters. The question was no longer how Hiroshima had been destroyed. The question became how many more bombs America possessed. Nobody in Tokyo knew the answer. Some believed there could be only one. Others feared there might be dozens. Every important military decision suddenly carried a new uncertainty. Air defenses designed to stop hundreds of bombers seemed almost meaningless against a single aircraft carrying a weapon capable of destroying an entire city. Even then, surrender was not immediate. Many senior military leaders still hoped to continue fighting. They believed Japan could inflict such heavy casualties during an Allied invasion that better peace terms might still be possible. Others increasingly feared that another atomic attack would leave the nation unable to survive. Only 3 days later, on August 9, 1945, another American B-29 dropped a second atomic bomb, this time over Nagasaki. For Japanese leaders, the terrible uncertainty that had begun with Hiroshima now became undeniable reality. The impossible had happened twice. The discussions inside Tokyo changed forever. Within days, Emperor Hirohito reached the conclusion that continuing the war would only bring greater destruction to Japan. On August 15, 1945, his recorded surrender broadcast was transmitted across the nation, ending a conflict that had consumed millions of lives across the world. Looking back, the most haunting part of August 6 was not only the explosion itself, it was the silence that followed. For hours, one of Japan's most important cities simply vanished from the nation's military communications. Telephones stopped. Radios fell quiet. Reports never arrived. Inside Tokyo, experienced officers who had spent years directing a global war found themselves staring at empty communication boards, unable to understand why an entire city had disappeared. That silence marked the moment the old rules of war ended. Before Hiroshima, military leaders measured power by armies, fleets, and air forces. After Hiroshima, they had to imagine a future where one aircraft carrying one weapon could erase a city in seconds. The generals inside Tokyo did not learn only that Hiroshima had been destroyed. They learned that the world they understood had disappeared with it. From that morning forward, every nation would have to think differently about war. Because on August 6, 1945, humanity entered the nuclear age, and there would never again be a truly ordinary morning like the one Hiroshima woke to just before 8:15 a.m.